Oh, yeah.
Bless and love, my lords. Welcome to another Red Lion chat. We have a nice live interview today with our friend Erik Astramecki, who has a wonderful project named Travel Swap. Um, how's it going, Erik? Very nice to see you, man.
Hey man, good to see you too, man. I couldn't was having some like audio issues there for a second. I missed the whole intro song and I'm sad because that's like one
Oh
of the
yeah,
best
me too,
intro songs.
man. I'm so sorry. I was on a call with a friend of mine and we were talking and then I noticed some notifications and I was like, "Oh shit, we have the interview." So, yeah, apologies for the slight delay, man. If I am to be really honest, I forgot about it. I was very into what I was doing.
Nah, no worries. I didn't think to ping you because I saw the 2 hour post like a little bit ago and I was like, oh okay, like he remembers, and then it didn't start right away. And I was like, let me drop him like a
No,
line in
usually
DM real quick.
usually I don't fuck up. So apologies, man. But very nice to talk to you, man, and very nice to also meet you in New York. Thanks for coming to our event.
No, it was a blast, man. Yours was probably one of the cooler events we were at, like I've been to, as far as like the art display, like the VR stuff. Like it was cool meeting like so many people, other project founders, that were there and stuff. And so a lot of
Hmm.
punks, a lot of OGs in the space.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. So let's talk about Travel Swap, man. Actually, let's start with you first, before we move into Travel Swap. Give us a little bit of, if you want to give us your origin stories and a few words about yourself.
Well, origin story. I mean, you've been around in crypto a lot longer than I have, Redline. I've only been in the crypto space probably for 2 years now. Came in a little bit less now, actually, July, August of 2021. So kind of literally the Pico top almost. Um, and then yeah, fell in love with coins, technology, started asking some questions that I'll go over as we chat more about travel swap and kind of how it came to be. Professionally, my background is in telecommunications engineering and sales. So I'm used to building business to business systems and then having to go and market and sell those products and build profitable companies that way. And so I probably have more of a sales background than a marketing background or a content background, which is probably a little bit more unique to Web3. We don't have usually a lot of the salespeople here are more grifters than they're not building anything; they're selling someone else's product. Yeah, I'm 32 years of age. I mean, what else? My social is 767. No, I'm just joking. I think I just wanted to come into this space and build something that was going to make it easier for people to transact. A lot of my success prior in sales and products has been not creating something that was like spectacularly brand new, but usually I found success in increasing efficiencies within certain areas. And so crypto and using blockchain technology, I think everyone's trying to use it in a way that adds some revolutionary factor or creates increases efficiency in some manner. And so you know that's where my excitement kind of in blockchain was. I'm a terrible
Hmm.
trader, so I don't trade. I farm a little bit, but that's basically it.
Hmm. And as you said, uh, what technology enables you, this new technology enables you to do stuff, excites you, and is this why you created Travel Swap?
Yeah, so Travel Swap is
Hmm.
actually an extension of a 7-year-old company. So
Hmm.
I own a company in Vegas called Majestic Vacation Man. For the last 5 years, we've brokered and sold vacation rentals via Airbnb, VRBO. And so one of the first things when I made money in this space 2 years ago, I was like, cool. now I can spend this to book like hotels and vacation rentals, right? And it was like,
Okay, sorry
actually,
to
no.
cut you there, but I'm
Yeah.
curious because um, VRBO or Airbnb or whatever, they are agents. So people would hire you, an extra agent, to book through them. How did that work?
No, so the way we worked is clients would come to us and say, "Hey, we want to buy a bunch of properties. We want to, then have them listed with a company that markets them, sells them, manages the churn. Basically, we're a hospitality management company. We take investors' money, buy cash flowing real estate properties. We market and sell those properties, for a nightly rental rate on Airbnb and VRBO. And we traditionally have catered to those people, right? So you can find our accounts on Airbnb, VRBO. They're 6, 7 years old, right? But that's kind of where it came from. And then we take a commission, right? So we're essentially acting as a vacation rental management company, But instead of somebody coming to you and saying, "Hey, Red
I
Lion,
see.
we're going to stick somebody for a year in your home," they're going to show you and say, "No, we're not going to do that. We're going to make it 4 times as much per month and only rent it out for 3, 4 days at a time."
Nice, nice, nice. Okay, I get it now.
So the question came from, to kind of what you're saying, the question came from, well, hey, why isn't that I can't connect my MetaMask and just pay with my choice of cryptocurrency? Why is it that you can't, unless I go to Airbnb site and I pay with a debit card, that's pretty much the only way I can transact. And so the genesis of Travel Swap was essentially, at first, building a payment API that would allow me to take your crypto and settle in cash to the homeowner. Right? It was that basic functionality, because it still doesn't exist today, right? You can't go to major travel sites and transact in crypto. They're not interested and haven't built mechanisms around settling it yet. So it's kind of the genesis of where it came from. And so, we have a history of doing millions of dollars in revenue just in vacation rentals here in Las Vegas. And now we're about to add on, with Expedia, over 4 million hotels around the world, plus the vertical of being able to accept crypto, which as of yet, there's very few people that can. And so that's pretty exciting because, now whether you're traveling in Europe exclusively, whether you're traveling internationally, wherever you are, will have inventory. A Travel Swap will have inventory that can support that in whatever coin or currency you want to pay in, which opens up the gate to a lot of people.
That's really cool, man. You saw a market gap and you went to fill it, and there's definitely a need for that. I mean, like as our friend commented here, paying for your hotel with Pepe. That's cool, man. And there's definitely a lot of people who, for many reasons, would like to pay with crypto for their traveling. I think you got something there, but the main bottleneck would be how many hotels you have, and how did you solve that problem? If you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'll kind of give you a timeline and then it'll kind of make sense here. And so we built essentially Travel Swap's front end August of last year. And then we did a deal with Gemini Institutional to be able to use their business API that they have for clients that can qualify for it to basically.
What is Gemini?
Gemini is a US based regulated exchange founded by the
Oh,
Winklevoss
Gemini
twins.
from the twins. Yeah, okay.
It's correct. Yeah, very, very well known. They're not much retail. They're more business focused, which was critical for us. And then obviously being a regulated entity in the U.S., there's a lot of due diligence when it comes to accepting crypto directly and transacting it. And so once we built the payment API and tested it, you were right. We had an inventory problem. We tried approaching what we call white label travel resellers. You could think of this as like the American Express rewards program, or like when you use your credit card points to book a hotel. That's all done through a third party that's they essentially partnered with. The issue with this is that a lot of those companies, they don't have enough inventory. They maybe have like 100,000 hotels, or they have a deal with like one hotel chain. They're a Marriott partner, they're a Hyatt partner. And so at first we were testing with a company out in India that was called Travello Pro, and it was really bad. The inventory would pull through really slow. It would only show like the worst hotels, right? Like nothing that I would stay in or you would stay in, right? And
Still
it
sounds
was
cool.
yeah. Well, but there wasn't enough inventory and it didn't work, and so I had actually emailed Expedia in September of last year, but I didn't get a reply back. And so that's why we started looking elsewhere for kind of this API, because we knew that if we were going to launch this, we had to come to market with inventory of all types and globally, right? We
Yeah,
can't
of
just say like,
course.
oh, we
How
have
how
one.
else you gonna compete, right?
Yep. And so January of this year, I had, not happy with the results of our testing with the previous company we were going to go with, um, and was getting some feedback from some of our core, whales within Dowdon, where, they were really bent on like, hey, you need to make sure you have 4-star properties, 5-star properties. They were giving us lists of hotels that they traveled at that they wanted to make sure were on the platform. And so we pretty much knew very quickly that the hotels that people were telling us they wanted to book weren't being provided by this API. And so we reached back out. I did pretty, I wouldn't say aggressively to Expedia, but like assertively, to let them know that as a company, we believed we could bring them value and revenue that they weren't touching. And we were able to kind of reignite a conversation with them, go through their initial due diligence, and sign a contract with them that we actually executed in April of this year. We were in discussion with them for about 60 days. And so their core API is what fuels hotels.com, Orbitz, Kayak. Most of the travel agencies use their stuff. And so that gave us, global inventory.
So let's talk about that. How many APIs like Expedia exist? What are the main players?
So the two main players when it comes to hotel inventory is going to be Booking.com or Expedia. They're pretty much, Booking.com is, you could almost say, like the European version of Expedia. And so you see more international travels use it.
Yeah, I
Most
love it.
Americans,
To be
yeah,
honest, I'm a
yeah.
big customer.
As an American, I hate Booking.com and as a hotelier because there's so much fraud that comes through them. And so there's a lot of bookings that get booked via stolen credit cards, and Booking.com does a terrible job of like protecting the end inventory provider. So I have a grudge against them, but I'm pretty sure the booking experience for you is great, but their business to business experience is absolutely terrible.
Yeah,
So they're
well, I hated them when I was using them to rent my house.
Oh yeah, then you know how bad they are. Then you're on my side,
Yeah.
100%. The core difference is that majority of companies don't do enough sales to go and negotiate direct contracts with all the major hotel providers. And even if you did, you wouldn't be able to get as good of a deal commission wise, because you just don't simply do enough volume. And so when you look at the marketplace, especially as like a US user, which I can speak to, you have like Trivago.com, Kayak.com, Hotels.com, Orbitz.com, Hotwire.com. These are kind of like the main, you get advertised to all the time. All of those companies use the same exact API. They all use Expedia's backend API. There's no difference between them except some vertical or segment. One buys inventory and resells it. One creates packages. But as far as the backend API, we essentially, we have the same service and available inventory as them for that. And, so, and Booking.com does the same thing for, I'm guessing, a myriad of, you could say, Europe-based travel companies.
I love it, man. But you know what I find peculiar is that, like, you see this market gap, you see this opportunity. You're a smart guy. You're like, okay, this is on my field. Let's do it. And these guys that already have everything in their power to corner the market, they have no interest in it. But when you go with another company and you're like, yeah, you can put all that crypto volume through us, they're like, yeah, that makes sense. I find this like mind-boggling. Why are they not interested?
Well, there's a growth curve and a knowledge gap that happens. And so I talk about this a lot in Doubt on if people are ever in VC that travel swap really isn't anything special, right? I mean, we're not
Yeah, exactly.
the
It's a
user
very
interface.
simple idea. Everybody, like, I don't mean to put it down, but like, let's say everybody could think of it, right?
Well, it's so I'll tell you the niche that I had when somebody comes to me and says, Eric, what's the core difference? You know, why does Travel Swap have a niche, right? It has the same inventory, it has the same pricing, Expedia, and it really comes down if you look at what was the previous major financial shift in the world. And I'm going to state that it was when we migrated from checks and cash to debit cards. And I'm 32 years old. I remember a time where businesses were cash only. They did not take debit cards. They did not take credit cards. And when people, those original merchants were going around, you know, I had a phone come in. Picking up where I left off there. So what they basically came in and said was, hey, you should install these credit card machines, and because sooner or later over the next couple of years, people aren't going to want to pay with cash. They're going to want to pay with these credit cards. And what you had businesses that said, oh yeah, this makes sense. Of course I'll sign up for a credit card today. There was a guy in my business yesterday wanting to pay for it and I didn't have it. And then you had some businesses, which is the one you're referring to, Redline, that say, no, sorry, we're cash and check only, man. We're not going to sign up for that credit card thing. Right? No one's going to use that. It's not worth paying for. It's not worth putting effort into. And it's not till you had more people come in your store offering to pay you with a debit or credit card and you losing that business that you eventually shift. And so I think you have a gap like that in the market right now. Expedia probably when they look at their consumer, doesn't see a heavy crypto user. They don't get requests for it. They probably don't have a pulse to it. And even if they did suddenly throw on an API that allowed it, I'm not sure that they have that market segment's trust on it. But then I also think too that it's just a matter of big companies sometimes are usually a little bit slower to react. The approval processes, the legal stuff, the wanting to risk, right? Right now, crypto is, viewed as like heavily under speculation by, Gensler and the SEC. And so they could view that it's not worth the risk right now to try and touch it. There could be a myriad of things, but, it's that specific piece alone that, is going to allow us to take advantage of a market and essentially build this experience around the crypto native user. Well, yes, you can still go to Travel Swap and pay with PayPal. You can use PayPal to break up your trips into multiple payments. You can pay with your Visa debit card. As you said before, Redline, the only difference between us is we're that online company that has the credit card terminal first. That's it.
I love it, man. And you settle through Gemini, right?
Correct. Yep. We summon through Gemini Institutional. Yep. And then from there it goes to our corporate account.
Are you planning to add more off ramps to settle? Because it can be dangerous to be reliant only on Gemini, and they also have their own problem.
Yeah, so there's Gemini and Gemini Institutional. And so Gemini, that most people know, is the retail side of it. And so that's completely different than Gemini Institutional, which is specifically kind of their enterprise business side within it. But yes, you are correct. We're exploring options with Coinbase's new offshore stuff. We were looking at Binance for a few things. But obviously, if anyone's been in this market long enough, the hardest place to get regulated to accept crypto is a US-based exchange, right? As a business, right? Everything else outside of the US is pretty much 10 times easier, right? Especially
I think it's worth betting that this is going to change. And the way we saw Gensler being, I don't know, shot on. It shows that maybe the US will try to regulate for real this time.
I mean, regulation isn't, the worst thing in the world when it comes to it. I mean, for us, we don't.
No, I look at it as positive because this will enable projects such as yourself to transact in pure, in clear, how can I say, legislative. You can operate legally and clearly and transparently like any other company. So there's nothing, let's say, wrong with you, right?
Correct. Yeah. I had this discussion. I think it was Mike Dudas made a post on Twitter the other day, and he was making a statement how it's hard for businesses in the U.S. to, get these types of accounts that allow them to transact in crypto. Right? It's you can't, at least in the U.S. you can't. I can't create Red Lion LLC tomorrow, go to Gemini Institutional and say, "Give me access to your business API. We're going to sell all this stuff." We had to provide several years worth of documentation and due diligence to prove that we're already a heavily regulated company in different cities and that we've sold this product. And so what I think you have right now is there is this like tightening of, if you don't have a multiple year old company that has history, it's very difficult for you to go and get these types of business accounts that allow you to legally transact. This is why most projects, this is why, nobody is building these types of products, is because they're so regulated. And unless you're already, several
Or
years old and
unregulated.
yeah, I mean, if you're trying
It's
to do
the
it
same.
legally, right? Yeah. 100%.
It's the same bottleneck, but for different reasons. But it has the same consequences. If something is too regulated, it's really complicated to make, so it takes a lot of time. So it's not sure it's gonna happen. And the same way, if it's unregulated, they can like stop you at any point. Any little kink will stop you. So it is really bad either way, I think.
I will say this though, once you have the appropriate documents, you get left alone, right?
Yes.
It's kind of like when you set up a bank account or you go and buy a car, there's a ton of paperwork. They're trying to figure out who you are. Can you qualify? What are you doing? Where's your bank statements? Where do you make your money? Who's it coming from? Right? Anytime you do a series, but once that's all done through, it's not like every month they're going through and auditing you or doing it, right? So it's kind of overblown in one sense of like, it's not like the IRS is knocking on my door or the business's door trying to audit all the time.
Of course not, of course
I
not.
think the key thing with TravelSwap, kind of looping it back to the platform, was that if the product is simply adding on a terminal that people can transact with, then it was just a matter of making sure that the booking process was the same. And luckily for us, traveling and the way people search and book travel has, been the same kind of forever, right? You use booking.com, right, Brian? I'd have to assume that your experience is type in destination.
Well,
type
a
in
little
dates.
hack for everyone. When you want to book something, book it on your phone from the application. You always get a much fucking better price for the same shit. You get free breakfast sometimes you get free transport from the airport. It's really fun. But yeah, it has been the same forever.
You're 100% right. And so one of the things you'll see also on TravelSwap is, depending on a different status, meaning whether you're logged into your account on TravelSwap, whether you're looking at it mobilely on your phone, those different
So you will
things
have a
return
mobile app
different
too.
rates. We will be browser compatible, and based on it knowing you're using a mobile browser to search, it will provide you a unique rate, a mobile rate.
How fast are you going to spin an application?
I have to see that application wise, it's worth the development cost, because bringing an app
100%,
to a market,
100%.
I also know a bunch of people that would rather just use their Safari browser and quickly
Yeah, but
do
most
that
people
instead of
don't have.
downloading it.
Most people are on their phone.
Yeah. So more mobile browser friendly. I think it's possibility, especially as we scale our rewards programs and we build out, our referral stuff. It's going to piece, but I think at first, right, when most people, book travel, especially for us, right, when you think of like how unfriendly a mobile wallet is and trying to connect your wallet, anyone who uses wallets on their mobile typically have a very hard time transacting. And so when you think that when a user who's going to be booking travel with crypto, natively it just made more sense that they would most likely be doing that from a PC to start. And then we can natively build around it just because historically, wallets aren't, obviously you've used MetaMask Mobile Redline. I'd like to know your thoughts, but they aren't great. It's
Uh,
typically a terrible experience.
well, I don't have it installed on my phone. Yeah, I do most of my stuff from the PC, but uh, there's definitely workarounds, and layer two could be very valuable for you guys, I suppose. But I think the cost of making an app versus the reward is like it's not even a question for sure. But I can see the development costs adding up. So I think once you start, it will be obvious that um, there will be an application soon. But what sort of uh, how many visitors and what sort of volume are you um, thinking realistically you will have starting in, and what would be a best case scenario?
Yeah, so our go-to-market strategy is going to be a little bit different. One of the core things in my background is when we're looking at this, we look at, well, who's the core product fit for travel swap? And I know people say, well, a crypto user. Okay, well, let's break up crypto users into pools. And if we look at the crypto market, in my opinion, you have kind of three core types of users. You have general retail. These are people that, they don't hold a ton of crypto. They maybe have a few thousand, they trade NFTs, but they're general retail, right? So they're more likely to book with a debit or PayPal than they are with crypto, even while holding crypto. Then there's the native crypto user. This is somebody like you, Redline. You've been in the space there. Crypto is probably a large portion of your portfolio. These are traders that day trade all the time, or they're funding protocols, or they're living in. We call them nomads, right? They almost, if they can, could live or travel exclusively on chain. And then the third product group is what I would call a Web3 business. These would be your DAOs, your protocols, the swaps with coins. These are kind of, you could say, our core clients, right? So let me give you an idea. When Azuki's
So
coming to
to
Vegas or
bring a
Moonbird,
parallel, this will be like the same thing as when business companies book, but for you guys it will be DAOs and like online organizations.
100%. The same
I
way
get it.
Expedia does a deal with Delta so that all of Delta's employees can log in through their interface and access discounts and all of that. We're very much the same, right? When you think of, the conferences that Polygon has to send their executives to, or these DAOs have to send, 5, 6, 7 times a year, we're able to offer them the ability to transact, directly in their native currency, having that be a business expense that the treasury can pay for instead of what happens now usually is each of those individual people books their own travel and then gets reimbursed from the treasury. And so we're the B2B component is very important to us, because it's a way to touch very large amounts of groups of crypto and solve their business needs more than anything, right? There's a real business, and there's savings of fees, significant fees, right? Because by the time the treasury is selling and swapping and bridging and offboarding and then using their debit cards to book, they're usually losing, 10+%, if not more, in fees along the way. And so from an organizational standpoint, when we looked at some of our test subjects, that were interested in this, that spend, 30, 40 grand a year, 80 grand a year, 100,000 plus a year to send their executives or their team members, to different conferences or business things, we're going to be saving those entities tens of thousands of dollars a year.
Mm.
And that's, and our goal is that through those really strong foundational relationships with the DAOs and protocols and swaps that everyone here uses, that we'll have a much stronger grasp on the crypto native consumer and what they want and how they want to react and how they want to be rewarded. And
I love it.
That's the goal.
Very fascinating, man. Very, very fascinating. And I wanted to ask earlier about the referrals and the rewards. Maybe you cannot tell us exactly, or you don't even know how it's going to be at the end when building these things. But yeah, it's really interesting, man. Like, how do you envision doing it?
So I can tell you what we're doing, and that's I'm a big fan of talking about what we're building instead of how I envision it, because I'm kind of past the envisionment stage a little bit. So there are two things that I'm working on now as we go through our final certifications. The first is you could almost call it like an agent program, right? And this is empowering communities, existing Web3 companies, to be able to monetize travel for their organization and their holders. And so,
Fuck yeah, man. So Red Lions will have miles and shit.
well, what we could do, and this is, and you've, in all transparency, I mean, you've been from the beginning, Red Lion, you've been a supporter way back before we had anything. And so I'll tell you what that experience would look like, because I don't want people to confuse these two different types of programs. And so the agent program would be someone for a founder, a protocol, that company relationship. And what it would look like is we would build them a unique promo code inside of Travel Swap that they would be able to hand out. And whenever this code would be used, it's essentially assigned a commissionable rate pass through to that entity every 30 days. And so basically what this empowers community members to do is, to give you a summary, is, you had all these people that flew out to NFT NYC. And yes, some people got group bulk rates on hotels, but majority of people were just randomly going to hotel sites and picking whatever hotel. And it was potentially, by our math, tens of thousands of dollars, if not over $100,000+ in commissions. And so what it would look like, Redline, you're hosting your event in NFT NYC. We would say, hey, Redline's an official travel partner of Travel Swap. Use code LION at checkout, get X off. And not only does your holder get a lower discount and the lowest possible fees that they could get, you guys actually share a pass through of our commission. And so now your holders are basically, by using something that they would already use, because they're going to have to stay and travel, they're going to have to do this anyway, now that transaction actually benefits their community too. And so there's incentive behind that, versus if they go to any other travel site in the world, right, and it doesn't matter how much they spend, Expedia is not giving Red Lion a cut because Red Lion doesn't have a deal with Expedia, right? And so it's really about incentivizing and kind of building out this program that allows Travel Swap to be bolt-on for most communities that would want it. Does that make sense? I'm not being any questions on that.
So can for example, on that deal, instead of getting the company a kickback or the project getting a kickback, all the benefits roll out to the guy who's booking, and he gets a better price?
So there's both. It's plus. So it's already plus. So the user's going to get that regardless, right? So what it would look like is,
so it's a win-win.
Yeah, it's a win-win. So we were already going to build token gated discounts at the preferred level, which says, hey, you hold, a DAO on NFT, our system scans your wallet, it knows you hold it, it shows you a UI that's unique on discounts that are completely different. We call those fenced rates. We can only display them when the user's in a closed group environment. But even if it's our choice to say, yeah, we can give your holder the lowest rates, but we would still keep all of the revenue we as a business did. I don't know if you see, there's a program here in the US called like Amazon Smiles. And so what you can do is you can purchase things on Amazon and it can go to specific groups and entities. And so the idea is that, like, hey, shop at your preferred local retailer and support the causes that you want to be a part of most. Because usually, well, yes, I can say, Redline, hey, yeah, give your users this discount code. and they'll be happy. The additional layer would be that there's actually a monetization piece there in a way that benefits both sides, right? In a way that's, organic along the way. And then to answer your other question, which I think is going to do it, is we'll have your traditional referral system, which will be a URL link similar to your Bybits, right? Or something where, if you share that out, that referral link, you can earn X amount of dollars and the person you use gets travel credits to book, which is traditional
that's
to
the
your Web2
classic
experience.
one. Okay, yeah,
Correct.
affiliate link.
Yeah, that's your affiliate. That's your, hey, use my link, I something there. But that's not, an agent program is on top of that. It's much.
What about coin or a token? Will you have one? Do people get rewards, or when they book with you, do they get miles or something like that, like you would on a credit card?
So great questions. At this point, we do not have a native liquid token. We will have a
Bro, if you have one and you call it miles, it's gonna fucking moon.
No,
because people love miles, man. People fucking love miles.
As a, when it comes to coins, right? People laugh, and it's one of the things we knew very early on. If you look at Dao Don's name, Dao Don, right? We're pretty knowledgeable. Our team's pretty knowledgeable on how to launch a legal coin within the systems and do that. However, my problem with coins and why they traditionally don't work is because the coin always drops before the product does. And it's backwards. Coins need to be minted based on transactions or history of transactions, because
if your coin has such a good utility, it's not gonna be a speculative thing. If 1 mile is 1 mile, it will forever be 1 mile is 1 mile.
It's like 1 ETH is 1 ETH.
Yeah.
One T swap point is 1 T swap point.
No, but like you buy 1 mile, you get 1 mile of air travel. So people will. I don't know. It just feels very natural. You can stack up miles and shit.
Oh, absolutely. And so I'll give you some alpha here, because I think this can do it. One of the things that, when you look at, when I look 90 days from now and I see, okay, we're going to be live, we're going to be producing stuff. How do we, membership rewards is probably, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry within a multi-trillion-dollar industry.
And this is what makes people hard. This is what the people want.
But the core thing within that, right? When, because I live in Las Vegas, so I've gotten to see the biggest hotel brands in the world deploy their different rewards programs, from the Win system to M Life. And so we're making actually some critical hires right now, with some killers that have been involved in building some of those programs on a very large scale. And the reason is because, as you said, the hotel rewards point system, I mean, I see guys now that I know are Marriott guys or Hyatt guys. They're used to a very, very, very specific type of experience. And there's ways to enhance that we want to make sure we do. But there's also want to make sure that, like, once again, just like booking a hotel, that you don't change it too much. But I can say this. One of the technologies that I'm really playing with and I'm excited to work with is based around being able to exit one of those memberships, right? The biggest, I see Hawk down there. Hawk is a person that traveled the world for years. And so he's maxed out at Hyatt. He's maxed out at Marriott. He has all the perks everywhere. And every now and again, he bitches because they devalue his points. And he's like, fuck that hotel, right? Now, even though Hawk spent 10 years working his way from bronze to mega gold platinum, level 75, whatever it is, the highest tier, even if that entity makes him mad, I can't go to Hawk and say, hey, Hawk, can I buy that membership from you that you've been building over the last 10 years? And since they pissed you off, I'd like to have it. And I don't want to spend the time or the money to get there. And so playing with some technologies that, if you're a user of the platform and you work your way through these reward systems and you reach these levels that ideally offer insane benefits and value, that also there's that accountability piece of like, well, hey, I want to give this to a friend, or I want to go and give this to somebody else, and I can, you can actually potentially exit out of those memberships. And then you start getting into, you basically are getting into timeshare memberships or right to use, which is like owning your reservation and the ability to resell it. Think of like Ticketmaster for hotels, right? So think of like.
But I was thinking about this a lot, but that can have like very negative implications.
It's also, so it was built around an
Having
alternate refund
airfare on the
mechanism.
speculative market. Fuck,
No,
man.
not airfare.
No.
Airfare can't. Hotels can be, airfare can't. And the reason airfare can't is you can't change an airplane reservation. It's the first thing it tells you when you book it, is airfare is non-refundable and you can't change it. And that's because it's so rigid. Hotels, though, you KYC when you check in, right? And so hotels, you can change names all the time. I can book your hotel under Dudley McGee, and you're going to be able to walk up there and say, yeah, I'm booked under Dudley McGee, and they're going to move that room into your own name, and it's not a problem. Same thing with tickets, right? You can transfer ownership. Hotels, you can too. And so the idea around, the technology of tokenizing a reservation is, say, here in Vegas, it happens all the time. People will try and snipe EDC weekend or some huge carnival festival, 6 months ahead of time, right? And they're trying to scalp that really cheap hotel deal, right? And then they know that, come April, May, when it's 30 days out, those rooms are usually 2 to 3x as much. And so it was organically built for that person that is out of their cancellation policy or out of their refund window, or they booked a non-refundable rate with the hotel. So the hotel basically says, hey, Redline, you can cancel, but we're not giving you any of your money back, right? And you're like, well, I can't go for whatever reasons. This essentially would be an alternate button on the website where you'd say, instead of cancel, it could be resell. And so, this idea of, if you're normally shit out of luck, you can't go, you're not just eating that. And, I have had few people that have come to me and said, well, hey, Eric, if you do that, there's going to be a bunch of people buying hotel rooms to try and sell them later. And we can't really control that, right? But I think the idea of, as a person who's eaten a lot of hotels, because I'm usually cheap and I usually book that non-refundable rate because I'm like, oh, I'll never not go. And then I have to cancel it for some reason, and then I just eat that because I booked that rate. It would be cool to explore, being able to resell those for the consumer. And blockchain technology allows that because it provides ownership, right? And so it's transferable. Usually, traditionally, Web 2 is you have to call a company and say, oh, I need to move this reservation into the name of Redline, and you got to get on the phone, then I got to get on the phone, and and make all of that happen. It's too much friction, right? It's not like, well, hey, dude, let me just transfer this to you. And then when you check in at the hotel, you just adjust the name to you, but everything's already paid for. It's like, oh, that's it?
I understand how the technology would work, and it's really fascinating even to think about it. And it will definitely benefit the business owners, but I can 100% see it backfiring big time, man. And like, having empty rooms when people are like, looking for rooms and stuff, that's not optimal.
I think it'll create a price parity of truth. Because for one, it works for the hotels because they have less vacancies. Now they're not getting a room back that they can't resell last minute or everything else. Hotels, the way we were modeling it as well, would earn a portion of secondary fees for the reservations that correlated with their
maybe
hotels.
if it's a regulated secondary, I mean, like sold in specific place, there is floor.
Yes, it's on Travel Swap. Correct. Yeah, this would be a closed marketplace. It would be protected.
Yeah,
it's within its own piece. Correct. Yeah, because hotels have certain rules and things even within that. But this is an alternate monetization point for them. It's supposed
imagine, if like every booking is an NFT. Like you book somewhere and you're like, okay, I'm going there holidays, and then people start offering more and more, and you're like, damn, maybe I can make money from this holiday by real.
There's been quite a few people that have tried to do that with pretty packed concerts and events where they'll buy tickets and then hotel rooms to already do that. They just charge it to their credit card today. That kind of already exists. It's not hugely popular, right? But it's not there. Once again, this isn't really meant to be an arbitrage type of thing. It's built as a, instead of you just not having an option to get any of your money back, Redline, right, where you're just going to cancel it and get nothing. Maybe you could sell it to somebody else who wants those same dates and would buy those rooms from you because the hotel's more expensive and you're looking to maybe get half back, right? And so if when you think about a hotel room, hotels, and say a hotel has 180 rooms, that's a pool of rooms. A pool. Well, inventory can come from any pool in Web3. So a hotel has its pool of rooms. You book it through Travel Swap. A portion of those rooms gets then pulled out of that pool, tokenized, and assigned to you, right? And then there's this alternate marketplace you could envision where, yes, obviously on Travel Swap, if you just search, you can check the available inventory on the hotel. That's their allocated pools. And then there's this alternate market where this inventory is being sold.
It's also a little bit non-fungible, though, because not all rooms are equal.
No, but not all NFTs are equal anyway, right? There's always differences and values and different things within them, right? But if you just simply look at, okay, 1-bedroom rate, 2-bedroom rate, 3-bedroom, you look at traits as filters, right? It's all the same thing. It's just about seamlessly offering somebody else. But that's down on the roadmap. I don't want to go too weeds into that, but my whole point is there's different monetization pieces that we're playing with.
Very, very exciting, man. Very exciting, and thank you for sharing. The aviation industry and the hospitality industry, they are a perfect fit for Web3. I think, man. Like the more you think about it, about 1 mile being 1 mile and one room being one room, the more it makes sense.
Yeah, and then you could think of, the idea is, we start off with hotels. We'll launch with that very shortly afterwards. We'll be bolting on. We're doing initial testing with our hotel API provider. We're probably going to settle on a company called Amadeus, which is pretty much, think of them as an Expedia, but for airlines. And so we'll be testing with them. And then, past that, we'll evaluate, a rental cars option. We're going to evaluate adding cruises and then tickets and attractions.
Airbnb.
Well, we actually are on, this is probably some alpha. I'm not even sure if I should be sharing this, but Expedia owns VRBO. And so VRBO very shortly, most likely by the end of the year, their inventory of Airbnbs, which is almost as comparable as Airbnbs. They're pretty much top dog 1 and 2. Will be integrated
in US. It's non-existent here.
In VRBO.
VRBO is not in Europe, no, as far as I know.
Yeah, so we're Airbnb not next, but I don't see that being a huge gap. I mean,
you call the people nomads, but there is, I think there is a little bit another market gap in like long-term rentals when you're looking for a place to stay for like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months.
Yep. So that'd be like more of a corporate housing, fully furnished type situation. And that's always been kind of a niche product within itself. Nurses, like traveling nurses, need that a lot.
Well, not anymore. Digital nomads do this all the time. They go to Thailand, they go to Europe, country to country.
Yeah. I mean,
our developer lives like that. Shout out to Cruz, man. He's really cool.
I think, Travel Swap's built for that person, right? I mean, some of the core people in Dowd are what we call digital nomads, right? So they live out of hotels 90% of the time, right? And the idea of moving essentially their entire cost of living on chain is a pretty attractive option for those guys. Most of the guys we're talking with tended to want to stay in some type of professionally managed Airbnb or executive place, or a hotel that they really liked at a very low rate because they're staying at it for 30 days. And most of that inventory is available on our site. The only
I have that
inventory that
problem
won't
now.
be.
For I want to go to Barcelona. Can I book it with you?
Of course. Oh yeah, we got everything in Barcelona, brother.
All right, let's
You
do
can
it.
pay
I want to
in
book it.
Pepe,
Yeah.
ETH, anything.
I don't have Pepe, but I have some other shit coins I can give you for it.
Okay, so that leads me to another point. A question I got asked even today was, and maybe we should do a good point on this, is what coins are we going to accept natively? To start.
Well,
What
it doesn't
are
really matter when you have Uniswap, right?
true, but that's also complications within it. So to start, right, we're not accepting every shit coin underneath the world, right? Because most coins, you can't monitor liquidity. The slippage is insane. There's no way to not have huge and permanent loss, right? One of the core issues we had to solve was, if I sell you any product, Redline, whether it's travel or anything else, if you pay in crypto and when you confirm that transaction, if by the time it gets to me I'm taking a hit either on price or slippage, I could be having a running loss, right? Because even though I'm confirming the transaction, maybe the price dips 5% and then
and if
it
you
uses
scale it
slippage. Yes, imagine you're doing 100,000 a day and you're losing X amount in slippage. You would just be bleeding, death by 1,000 cuts. You get it exactly. So the reason Gemini was such a core partner is we're guaranteed no impermanence. Like, we don't get any slippage loss when that API goes through it. Now, we do have a separate payment escrow service that we're working with, and this will expand coins that aren't listed on Gemini. And we're testing like our Oracle trees and the routers to basically make sure that, hey, when somebody wants to pay in a coin, how do we make sure that we know where the liquidity for that coin is? We're routing it to that swap, right? Because what if it's not on Uniswap? What if it's on Sushi? What if it's somewhere else? And so we're playing with that to be able to make sure that, hey, if it suddenly comes online and it's a really popular coin, or it's been around a while, I want to take Evmos, I want to take Kanto, I want to take trying to think, Rebus, Tori. These are a lot of other coins that are in different ecosystems that we don't want to be limited to not being able to take because our exchange partner at the time doesn't have it, right? There is a way to safely for certain coins to be able to exchange those by routing between the swap that holds that liquidity in a way where we don't risk taking impermanent loss within that. And so we're playing a lot with that. I think that'll come out sooner than later. I'd like to say that it would, be around at time alive, but I don't think, I don't think we're going to miss out on bookings because somebody can't pay in Wojak or somebody can't pay in whatever, the shit coin of the week is, right? Pepe's kind of the crazy one, right? I mean, it basically pulled an ape coin. Yeah, I mean, it went on every major exchange so fast that, Gemini basically being the only exchange that accepts it made it so that we could accept it day one directly, right? I mean, Coinbase doesn't even have it, right? If we would have done our accounts through Coinbase, we wouldn't be able to do it. So it's just funny because, in that case, it was, it was very easy for us to add it to it. But yeah, we'll be able to take majority of coins, whether it's through Gemini or not, provided liquidity and other things that we determine.
Nice, man. I'm looking forward to it. Now I want to book my stay in Barcelona for summer with travel stuff. That's so exciting, man. And like talking about this makes you think that like the services and businesses such as TravelSwap comes in to actually use and utilize all those DeFi and the financial projects that are being put in place, and all those building blocks that like not a lot of people are using, but like with more use cases, there will be more usage.
And then as adoption grows, right? My bet, the whole thesis I'm building this off of is that crypto adoption is going to increase at an alarming rate in the next 3 to 5 years, right? If we look at unique wallets over wallets created, unique user over user, we see it's almost equally as explosive as like what the growth curve to credit card use was, right? Which meant that in the beginning, not many people had debit cards, and now everything is on a debit or credit card, right?
Yeah.
And so, you're gonna look back in 5-6 years and be like, dang, remember when all these companies were like Visa cash only, right? Like, and the idea that they never were able to transact in cryptos, it's going to be laughable, right? And we see this already happening. And so it's not just about like, hey, being able to accept it today, but it's how do we own this entire customer experience and dynamic that's going to continue to grow, right? If we only have X amount of users now, what does that look like? Right. And what's the age demographic of that user? Where do they go? How do they spend their money? What do they like to drink? What time do they check in? What are the accoutrements that we can build around this? I'm a very customer centric person. User experience and guest experience is usually the higher that is, the more people will pay and the more you earn, loyalty. It's usually not about the lowest price. It's about the best experience. And so it's really cool to me because I think the crypto user is fun. Usually selling travel is terrible. But, when you look at the crypto user and how most, a lot of them have this ability to be first to this type of technology and using it, it's going to be very fun to build this platform and make it really rewarding for those that, use it, while not sacrificing any of the experience that they're used to. Right? Like if you go and price out any of our hotels directly on Expedia's website, it's the same exact price. So I'm not saying, oh, hey, you get this great service, but we're 30% more, so, and that's because we take crypto. It can't be that way. You need to be equally as competitive, equally as good or better in your customer experience, in your customer service. And then equally as competitive or better in your rewards programs and your membership experiences, compared to like the biggest brands in the world. And then, give them the ability to transact in whatever form of currency they want, because that's how the world works now. It's no longer about US dollar, Visa, debit card, MasterCard. It's now whatever you have and want to pay with. In a perfect world, I would like to take, right? If there's a way I can convert it and move it, because I tell this, hotels want your cash. They just don't want your fucking crypto. And they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to figure out how to transact it. But if somebody comes along and says, you don't have to, we'll always settle with you in cash. But we've built this mechanism to accept all of this revenue from all of these people that would rather not bring it to cash to have to do business with you. They'd rather just them pay. And then whatever happens and how you get it, as long as they get that hotel and the pricing, that's it. And that user experience needs to be that way. I think the reason we've had such a gap is because nobody's made it safe for these companies to accept crypto or give them cash in a way that doesn't sound like everybody's going to jail. And we really believe that fixing this gap, it's really going to help ease the use of stuff here.
Well, also early internet, people would tell you, "Oh, don't put your real information on the internet. Oh, only scams or weird stuff people buy on the internet." But now it's the main marketplace, and that all happened in like 15 years. So
my mom wouldn't even create a bank account. She wouldn't use PayPal originally. She wouldn't use online bill pay. I mean, like it took 10 years for people to get adopted to that, right? And now it's normal, right? If someone's like, you don't pay your bills online, it's like, no, dude, I write a check and I mail it out the post office. I was like, what? Why? You don't have to do that anymore. It's like, but it comes with the slip in the mail, and then I write the check number, and then I go and it's like, dude, like
sometimes living in Greece, people say, "Okay, can I fax it to you?" I'm like, well, exactly. If you can fax it, you can fucking email it too. It's the same fucking machine now.
Exactly, it's the same thing. But here's the thing: if enough people came to you that you were doing business with and said, "We need to fax to you," and they made that the barrier that if you didn't overcome, they wouldn't transact with you. Yeah. You'd have a fucking fax. You'd have a fax, right? And my whole my whole fundamental belief is people are going to start coming, and as much as you could say, dude, I'm not going to fax you, just email me. Don't pay me in crypto. Just use PayPal, dude. Just use a debit card. And the whole thing is like, dude, like this is what I use, so you should use it. We gotta flip that and say, no. Whatever the client wants to pay in the medium they want to transact with us with, we just have to make it so that we can safely do that and it's beneficial to everyone. Because then there's no friction. Then it's oh, okay, yeah, you can email or fax me, whatever works best for you. And then it's just, what's the customer experience past that? Does Redline deliver? Does he, screw up in some other aspect, right? But you've passed the transactional barrier, which is a huge one. But crypto's inhibitor to growth is it's hard to offboard. It's hard for real companies to extract value from it, which is the only way it'll go up in price, right? Because then user adoption will grow, right? Visa got big once debit cards blew up. Prior to that, there wasn't that many debit cards and cards issued, so it wasn't a huge thing. But they were very early and wanted to push that prior to majority of people having, using credit cards.
And you see crypto went huge, you needed it. So yeah, you had to have it if you wanted to be part of the new economy. When are you launching?
My goal is to have this thing. So I just got off the dev team here in a bit. I'm trying to have this thing live in about the next 7 to 10 days. I'm really pushing, and this is, when I say live, we're going to launch it at the most basic levels. And so what we're really finalizing today and testing is Expedia's final certifications. This really includes, you guys being able to book, search hotels, whether you book 1 room, 2 rooms, 3 rooms, whether you book with, 5 people, 7 people, making sure that when you book, you can change or cancel a reservation, right? And making sure that those workflows work correctly.
Yeah, well, right? It's understandable. Everybody launches an alpha or a beta.
Yeah, absolutely. So we ran a little bit of stuff with that. We fixed it. We sent over some final documentation, and past that, it's really some UI filter cleanups, and then really this promo code and URL link piece, just so that we can, before we go live, we're in talks with a few event management and destination management groups for Web3. These are the companies that your DAOs and protocols work with.
Can I be the first booking?
You gotta. I tell you what, Redline. If you want to be the first booking, I will let you do it. When we have to do a test booking with Expedia, so that one won't count. But if you want to be if you want to be the first booking, Redline, I'll DM you. We'll bring you in the Discord and do a screen share, and we'll brick it right in front of everyone.
Fuck yeah. I'd love that, man. I'd love that. So that's going to be really cool. Let's open up the floor if any of the people on the audience have any question. Come up, guys, request, and I'll put you through. Get your question if you would like to. I think you covered it all. Is there something that I missed asking you about you would like to touch on?
No, that's really it. I mean, it's been great to connect with you, man, from the event in NFC NYC to our reconnection via Discord and stuff. And I met Dudley. I see Dudley down there. Definitely doesn't look like his CryptoPunk at all. And then I was hoping to meet Sweet Potato, but he wasn't in NYC. I originally thought Dudley was Sweet Potato, but
are you coming to Lisbon? I don't think you will be busy, right?
When is it?
It's like in June 7 to 9.
Oh no, because we're trying to heavily go after this Azuki event here in Vegas, which is the 20th through the 23rd, and we're potentially going to be sponsoring an event there and having some VIP tickets and stuff to do stuff and having a presence there. So but I very shortly though, I would assume as the founder of this that I will hopefully be using it, significantly. And so the idea is, just as much as this was built for everyone else, it's really selfishly built for me too.
Yeah.
I want I want all the coins that I hold to be able to be used, like the coins that we spend years accumulating and farming. And so it's going to be the idea that I can travel and go to all these conferences while using this product and sharing it and meeting up with people who use it and making it, being able to connect as a founder to users, right? I don't operate from an ivory tower. I do my best like in the
Yeah.
mix. And so maybe not that one, but definitely the one after. There's a few other ones that somebody was trying to get me, and there's a person that sets up a bunch of conferences in Europe. So
I will
I'll be there.
send you the cool ones. We are only going to the cool ones.
If you're there, then
send
I'll
you the
trust
cool
it.
ones.
We'll figure it out.
All right, man. Thank you so much for coming and chatting Travel Swap. I will invite you again to the show, probably sometime soon, as soon as you get a breather from launching or around launch time, to party together and to get the first reservation for Red Lion. The gentleman here wants to book Barcelona, please.
We'll make sure we'll make a thing of it. I will let them know when someone says it. Although Hawk down there might be a little bit upset because he was definitely trying to get it. But yeah, no, we'll stay in touch to do this. Obviously, we chat all the time in DMs, so I'll let you know as we get closer. And then, yeah, you let me know of the list of places in Europe. I know Pobedine has a bunch of places too that he's got in mind there too. So, but yeah,
Right now everybody I talk to is going to Lisbon, so Lisbon is going to be huge.
I wish I could have made it here, but
yeah, I understand. You're launching. Yeah, I understand. But yeah, man, thank you so much for coming. Very nice chatting with you. You're a great speaker.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks again for everyone coming, all the Dons down there. Brand, who's been, great, done money down there. It's been a great brand ambassador pushing stuff. Y'all see him down there has been pretty much smashing the memes on Travel Swap. It's so interesting. I won't take it too much, but it's been very interesting to engage with the Web3 consumer. It's less corporate template posts and more whatever the topic of the day or cultural significance, and then trying to blend that into your product. Very much like what you do, Redline. Like you document unique experiences in time that then, basically almost are like documentation of the memes and the journey along the way. So
yeah, it's the timeline. We are the keepers of the timeline.
Absolutely. So, but I'll chat with you offline, Redline, on the other program stuff, and we can get more information on that. And thanks again for having me up and giving the chance to chat. And if anyone has any questions at all, you can, my DMs are always open. I'm fully doxxed. I'm more than happy to explain or answer any questions about the platform. I know every facet of it. So I believe in extreme ownership. So, it's not a bother.
And everybody go follow Travel Swap. It will be getting a lot of attention soon. And you heard it here first. Thank you all so much for coming in. If you would like to support us and mint something wonderful, you can check out the Red Lion Gazette. Issue 138 is out. It's really cool, and it comes with a free art drop, which is an artwork by an amazing artist called Soriso, and we are doing this thing called curated art drops, where a different curator for 7 weeks curates amazing artists, and these 7 weeks are curated by Filtered Art and our punk friend OMZ, one of the largest collectors on Super Air. So the exhibition is called Samba, and we are celebrating Brazilian diversity. Thank you all so much for listening. We will take a breather for this weekend, and we will catch up with you on Tuesday for the next one. Or, I think I'll be on holidays, so it will be late next week. Again, thank you so much for listening in. Take good care. Bye bye.